Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that shaitan, he threatens you, the creation, the humanity, Satan, shaitan, the devil, he threatens you with poverty. وَيَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. And he commands you towards temptation. وَاللَّهُ يَعِدُكُمْ مَغْفِرَةً مِّنْهُ وَفَضْلًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is calling you towards forgiveness from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He is calling you towards His fadl, His bounty. Wallahu wasi'un alim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most vast, and He is the most knowing and the all-knowing of everything. This is the verse of the Quran, in the third juz of the Quran, the third part of the Quran. And it's a verse that we should deeply reflect on, because it outlines one of the main problems, or many of the main problems that we have in the Muslim Ummah throughout the world, but especially in the West and especially in North America. And the reason why I want to talk about this problem is because today is Good Friday, and we have, mashallah, we have youngsters here, we have elders here, right? We have various age ranges here. And I wanted to take the opportunity in this blessed month of Rajab, the month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is also significant for the Isra wal-Mi'raj of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which we will be speaking of in the coming khutbahs inshallah, which is also significant for being the month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the month of istighfar, the month of preparation for Ramadan, as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in the month of Rajab and in the month of Sha'ban, and allow us to reach the month of Ramadan in the best of states, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ameen. And we know that Rajab is a blessed month for other reasons as well. For example, the birth of Sayyidina Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib karramallahu wajhah took place in this blessed month. And alhamdulillah, for those of us who were here last night, we commemorated this event, and we spoke about the manaqib and the virtues of Sayyidina Ali al-Murtada radiyallahu anhu wa Allah karramallahu wajhah al-kareem. This is also a month in which many awliya Allah, many friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala departed from this world. For example, one of the foremost of them, Sultan al-Hind Khwaja Gharib Nawaz, al-Shaykh al-Sayyid Mu'in al-Chisti radiyallahu anhu wa Allah, and we spoke about him in the previous weeks, alhamdulillah. But because it is a Good Friday, and because we have the opportunity to come with our children, parents and children are together, family members are together, alhamdulillah, in most cases the masajid are full. I wanted to speak about some of the huquq and some of the rights that parents have over their children, and some of the rights that children have over their parents. And also some of the rights that husbands have over their wives, and the wives have over their husbands, and vice versa. And some of the family values that we have to incorporate as Muslims, and what we learn from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ about these huquq, about these values, about these rights, and that we have to fulfill these rights, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. Right? We have to strengthen our community, the Muslim community, by fulfilling these rights. For example, our children have rights over us. What are the rights of our children over us? For example, we provide our children with shelter, we provide our children with food and drink, we provide our children with a safe place to live, but also in terms of education, not only education of the dunya, but we have to provide our children with education that will get them ready for the akhirah. We have to provide our children with education that will allow them to see the difference between what is right and what is wrong. Because that is the main thing we can give them, my dear brothers and sisters. When they grow up and they know what's the difference between right and wrong, and they can make a decision in this society, that is a great gift that you can give them. That is one of the greatest gifts, if not the greatest gift, that you can give your child, is discernment. Is discernment, right? The meaning of the Quran, one of the titles of the Quran is Al-Furqan. Al-Furqan. What is the meaning of Al-Furqan? The meaning of Al-Furqan is the criterion. The criterion of what? Of the criterion that you can tell the difference between right and wrong. The Quran is our constitution, is our dustur. And we look at the Quran, the teachings of the Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, to differentiate between al-haq and al-batil, between haqq and batil, between righteousness, between what is right and what is wrong. And then we train ourselves and our nafs to obey the right things and to stay away from the wrong. So this is the training that we have to give our children, but it comes with knowledge. If we do not know what is halal and what is haram, then how can we know what is right and what is wrong? Right? So one of the key rights that our children have over us is education, is Islamic education. Teaching them from a young age. For example, the Prophet ﷺ in many ahadith outlined the different age ranges where you start teaching the child certain things. For example, salah. The Prophet ﷺ said, start teaching your child salah at the age of 7. Start teaching your child. That doesn't mean he or she has to know exactly all the ahkam, all the rulings of the salah at the age of 7. No, start teaching your child the age of salah at the age of 7. And when the child reaches 10 years old, if they're not performing the salah, then you punish them. Then you have discipline. You discipline the child. The Prophet ﷺ said. Right? So this is the teaching pertaining to salah. And likewise, for example, the Prophet ﷺ said, if there are two children sleeping, for example, a boy and a girl, when they're young, they can sleep together in the same bed. When they come to a certain age, 7 years old, separate them. Separate them. Now there's time for them to be separated. They should be sleeping away from each other. There is hikmah in this teaching. The Prophet ﷺ knows the psychology of the human beings. He is sent as a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He learns directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator. And who knows the creation better than the creator? So we have to listen and we have to take heed to these lessons of the Prophet ﷺ. Now what rights do our parents, my dear children, have over us? Right? Our parents are the key to paradise for us, my children. Remember that. Our parents, for us, are the gates and the keys to Jannah. If we want to enter paradise, if we want the pleasure of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ, we have to seek the pleasure of your parents. Right? The Prophet ﷺ said, the Jannah, look at this, the Jannah, the thing that we all ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. We ask Allah, the Prophet ﷺ taught us to ask Allah for Jannah all the time. And for Jannatul Firdaus, in the highest of Jannah. And he said, the Jannah lies at the feet of your mother. So Jannah lies at the feet of your mother. That means that not literally lies at the feet of your mother, but serving your mother will get you into Jannah, inshallah. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, the father is the gate to Jannah. The father is the door to paradise. Right? So what rights do our parents have over us? We have to listen to our parents. As long as they're telling us to do righteous things, and to do wholesome things, and to do things which are in the Sharia, if they're telling us to pray, if they're telling us to do good things, to go to the Masjid, if they're telling us things that will benefit us in this world and in the next world, we have to listen to them. And as in the Quran it says, we cannot even say uff. That means we cannot even, uff means not literally uff, because some people they say, oh, you cannot talk back to your parents at all. No, we shouldn't talk back to our parents. But the ulama, they explain what uff means in the Quran. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not even say uff to your parents, what is the meaning of uff? Right? For example, say your parent is talking to you and you don't say anything to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not saying don't communicate with your parents. He's not saying that. We still communicate, but we have to have the most adab and respect. And uff, some of the ulama, they say, what is the meaning of uff in the Quran? That وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Don't say to them uff to your parents. They say the meaning of uff here is, do not ever break the heart of your parents. And do not say anything that would break their heart. And do not ever say anything that would make them feel a burden upon you. That's the meaning of uff. And oftentimes we see in society, the tongue, the Prophet ﷺ told us, he said this thing, once he held his blessed tongue, and he said this thing takes people to Jahannam. And this is the thing that will cause people to go to Jahannam. Right? One word we might say to our parents that will break the heart of your parents. And it's not worth it, my dear children. It's not worth it, because if you break the heart of your parents, you are displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're displeasing the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's why the rights of our parents, We have to be patient. Okay? We have to listen to them. We have to obey them. And we have to be patient with it. If we're older, and if our parents are elder now, and we're adults, and our parents are in their elder ages, we have to be more patient with them. Right? As the Prophet ﷺ said, that lower the wings of rahmah for that means, serve them and be patient with them and be merciful with them, just as they were merciful with you when you were a child. What is the dua in the Quran? رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. That, oh my Lord, have mercy upon them, كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا, as they were merciful in rearing me, in sustaining me when I was a child. Right? We were nothing when we were children. We had no control over anything. Who is looking after us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appoints the parents and our guardians as asbab. Of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control, but He appoints the parents as representatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are representatives of Allah. They're khalifatun. All the human beings are khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as mentioned in the Quran. And they're representatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're taking care of us. And when we grow up, if we cannot even return the favor, we can return the favor. Because when you become a parent, then you realize the important rank that a parent has. You realize when you become a father, you realize how much your father struggled for you. When you become a mother, you realize how much your mother struggled for you. Right? So these are some of the things we have to take care of in society. The huquq, the rights of the children, but also the rights of the parents. The rights of the husband, the rights of the wife, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, أَكْمَلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِيمَانًا أَحْسَنُهُمْ خُلُقًا. That the most perfect, the akmal comes from the root word kaf, mim, lam, which comes the word kamil. The word kamil means perfection or perfect, right? Kamal is perfection. Kamil is perfect. Akmal is the most perfect. Look at the word that the Prophet ﷺ is using here. It's not an ordinary word. He said, Akmalul mu'mineen, the most perfect believer. Imanan, in terms of faith, ahsanuhum khuluqa, is the person who has the best character. وَخِيَارُكُمْ خِيَارُكُمْ لِنِسَائِهِمْ. And the best among you are those who are best towards their wives. The best among you are those who are best towards their wives, لِنِسَائِهِمْ. And the Prophet ﷺ said about the rights of the husband. For example, if a wife passes away, if the wife passes away and the husband was pleased with her, then she will enter Jannah. SubhanAllah. But where are these concepts, my dear brothers and sisters? There is no concept of family anymore. We see it in some cases, but we see it deteriorating. Why? Because I'm coming back to the verse, الشَّيْطَانُ يَعِدُكُمُ الْفَقْرَ وَيَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. This verse, if we understand this verse, my dear brothers and sisters, this is the crux to the problem. This is if you understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this verse, we'll understand the problem. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, الشَّيْطَانُ يَعِدُكُمُ الْفَقْرَ. Ash-shaytan, he's going to threaten you with poverty. What does that mean? He's going to say you have to work 2 jobs, you have to work 3 jobs, you have to work 4 jobs. Keep getting the dunya, keep following the dunya, keep earning that cash, keep earning that money. Forget your children are nothing. This is what shaitan is telling you. When he does that, you become weak, your faith becomes weak. And then what does Allah say? وَيَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. When you're in that state, when you are bowing down to the dunya and you're not bowing down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're weak. Then you have no iman anymore. Now you're worshipping the dunya, you're not worshipping Allah. You might be doing sajda to Allah, but in your heart is the cash and the money. And I'm not talking to anybody here. Before I'm talking to myself than anyone else. So don't think I'm targeting anybody. A general statement. Okay, my dear brothers and sisters. And then what happens? وَيَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. Now that we're in a weak state, now shaitan can command us towards evil things. He can command us towards fahsha, temptations. And what is happening, my dear brothers and sisters? What is happening? Our children are in nightclubs. Our children are committing zina. Muslims are committing zina. Muslims are drinking alcohol. Muslims are involved in drugs, my dear brothers and sisters. Our children are smoking marijuana, are taking illegal substances. We cannot deny this fact. We have to wake up. We have to wake up and see the reality. I'm being a little bit harsh, but this is what's happening. Why? Because we're not taking the time. Often the parents were not taking the time because we're too busy with the dunya to communicate with the children. and the other way around. Even the other way around, the children are too much in towards the dunya that they're not taking the time to communicate with the parents. So the family values are deteriorating. The blessed family values that the Prophet ﷺ embodied and taught us in his blessed seerah, we don't see that anymore, my dear brothers and sisters. We don't even eat together on the same table anymore. We don't even share the same table spread anymore. The father is eating at a different time, mother is eating at a different time. The daughter is in a different room, the son is in a different room. And they're texting each other when it's time to come to, there's no communication anymore. Where's the communication? Where's the love? If there's no love in the family unit, how can we have love in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If we cannot even love our brother and sister, our blood, our own blood, how can we love our brother and sister in Islam? How can we extend that love towards the community? Right? We're just like broken units. Right? We come here, we come 5 times, sometimes once in a week, we come pray Jummah. Right? Sometimes we don't even smile. Right? Where is this love? Where is the love gone? Right? What did the Prophet ﷺ teach us? Even if you smile, this is charity. Even if you smile to your brother and sister in Islam, this is charity. Do not consider even the smallest thing as insignificant. Even meeting your brother with a cheerful face is sadaqah. Even meeting your brother with a cheerful face is a good deed. Right? So we have to increase in this love. We have to bring back those family values. Right? And we have to communicate with the children. Do not let the children just sink lower and lower and lower, because there are problems that we're dealing with in the society. Right? And often the children will not tell you that, but there are signs. We have to look out for those signs. Right? So we do not let the dunya govern us. We have to be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, I know it's tough in society. We have to earn a certain amount of money. We have to pay the bills and so forth. But we cannot let it overtake our life. We cannot let it overtake our life. The Prophet ﷺ used to divide his day into portions, right? Portions for his family, portion for himself, portion for the community. And this is how he would divide his day. This is the way that is successful. This is the path that will lead us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what we have to be careful. So when shaitan tells you, no, you have to work, you have to get all the luxuries of the life. Why do you have to get all the luxuries of the life? Why do we compare with our fellow brothers and Muslims, brothers and sisters? If one person is a doctor, why do we have to make our child a doctor just to compare with the other person? If a person is earning this much money, why do we have to earn that much money? Just to compare or to compete with one another in the dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say compete in the dunya, He said compete for the akhirah. Sabiqu fastabiqul khairat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said compete in the good actions that will lead you to the akhirah, that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And nowadays we have this concept that I find in many societies or in many households in the Muslim societies, they do not value the child anymore. They do not value rearing the child or doing the tarbiyah of the child. They would rather give the children to somebody else to raise the child. Not with everybody, but you find that. For example, and it comes back to the verse of the Quran. Ash-shaytanu ya'idukum al-faqr. Shaitan is threatening them with poverty. Now, Shaitan is saying you're going to become poor. Shaitan is saying you have to earn your own money. Yes, we do. We take the asbab, but where is the money coming from? Is it coming from ourselves or from Allah? It's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one day that you think that you are the provider, that's the day of your destruction. The one time that you start thinking that I am Raziq, I am the provider for my family. You hear that, right? I have to provide for my family. I thought Allah is the provider. I thought Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Razzaq. Not your name. We are Abdul Razzaq. We are Ibadur Razzaq. We are Ibadur Raziq. He is the Raziq. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. Yes, I'm not saying just sit home and let the money fall from the trees. No, we take the sabab. We take the means. We go and we earn. But we don't overdo it, that we forget our hukuk. We don't overdo it that we forget our children. We forget our families. And we're so blind that our children are doing certain things we don't know of. And we think that our children are the best angels, but they're involved in certain actions that are leading to the destruction of their faith. So what happens now? Shaitan is going to threaten you with poverty. Okay, now my wife also has to work. Now I'm not talking about those people who really need the money and they're in a certain situation where both the members of the family, the heads of the family, the male and the female have to work. Alhamdulillah. If they're really in a situation where that's necessary, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who just need extra money for luxuries, right? And they forget the hukuk. They forget the rights of their families. I know many people like that. In my own family, in other families, I see them. The father is working away from the home, right? Making enough money for the family to survive. Making enough money not only to survive, but for a comfortable life for the family. Okay? Well, now the mother also wants to work and she wants to travel to other places. She wants to make more money because they want more luxuries of life. The more luxuries of life you have, the more heedless you're going to become, my dear brothers and sisters. The more you have of the dunya, the less you're going to have of the akhirah. The more you chase the dunya, the more it's going to come in your heart, the more you're going to become forgetful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the natural way of life. This is how it is. This is what Imam al-Ghazali said, radiallahu anhu, Hujjatul Islam, a great alim who was known as Hujjatul Islam. Known as Hujjatul Islam, he mentioned this. The more that you have of the dunya, the less you have of the akhirah. So what happens now? The mother and the father are both away. Who's going to take care of the child? Who's going to give tarbiyah? The child is a pure soul. Now you want to leave that pure soul into the hands of filthy souls? You want to leave that pure soul who is innocent, who he or she is innocent, that amana, this is a trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you as a child. You want to leave that child in the hands of a person who doesn't even have faith, and give them to the daycares and give them to certain people who do not have any faith, do not know how to give tarbiyah to the child. This is what happens. They don't care. They want to earn money. They send their children, and the children barely see their parents, sometimes here and there. And what happens is they pick up these habits from other members of society. They pick up these habits which are non-Islamic, and those habits become engulfed and they become entrenched in their hearts. Because the child is like a sponge. Whatever the child is going to see and hear, they're going to absorb that like a sponge. And later on, it becomes too late. When they grow up, they have these habits. They keep, working on these habits, and then the parents complain. And the parents say, my child has gone astray. And the question is, where were you? Where were you when the child needed you? Where were you when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entrusted you with this amana, with this trust to rear the child and to give tarbiyah, to give proper education, to teach them the difference between right and wrong? So this is a question that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can ask us on the Day of Judgment. And then sometimes we see that we're so busy working that sometimes we give the child to our parents, our own children. Now, my mom has to raise my child for me. My father has to raise my child for me. One of the brothers is smiling because this is in my culture especially. Both the parents are working. Leave the child at the grandparents' home. Why? Is the grandparent your servant? Is your mother your servant? Your mother raised you. Your mother cleaned your diapers. Now you want her to clean the diapers of your child? Right? This is something that it's not acceptable. I don't think this is, unless there is a valid reason. And the mother and father won't say, they'll say yes, because they have that in their heart. They have that natural disposition of a mother and father. They won't say no to their child. Because this is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made them. But we as adults, we as people of intellect, we should have that ghayrat, or we should have that honor and integrity that don't put your mother through that. Right? We have to be the mother and father. We have to take that responsibility on our own. Right? And don't put your mother and father who are now older, and now they're getting older, and their life now is coming to, the older stages coming close to an end, and you want to put them through that again? Right? After they've already raised you, they've reared you, the least you can do now is actually take on that responsibility ourselves, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me and forgive all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, strengthen the love within our families, within our communities, within the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, forgive all our sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompass us in His mercy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give shifa and afiyah to all those who are sick and all those who are suffering in any way or form. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove the suffering from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, all those who have passed away from the ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise their darajat, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Allah